too. And we're just getting older in age, and we were
We're
both
getting
just
older.
acknowledging, just like, yeah, man, we're not gonna be learning too many more of these dances.
No. That's way behind us at this point now. That's totally way behind us at this point. I still Dougie. That's where
You say that,
that's
but you
where
just
I
hit that. You just hit that
and I
New
hit
York.
it
As soon
so
as I
this
started
because
talking about it,
I hang around young kids, man. That's the problem.
that keeps you young. That's a good thing.
It's true. It's true.
That's a good thing. There's a good thing. That waters your youth. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
There's power in that. There's power in that. There's power in hanging around young people, learning from young people.
Mm-hmm.
There's also power in vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And the most gangster thing you can do is serve. We bring you that. This is All the Way Live.
Damn straight. This is indeed the All the Way Live podcast. Welcome absolutely everybody to the podcast. Yo, please serve. As Xavier hit the air horn, gunshots, whatever you got over there to welcome us in.
It's more than warranted today,
Are we live?
It's more than warranted today.
There you go. That's my favorite drop. And over here, what we do at the All the Way Live podcast, man, is we give the people carefully curated content that ranges from anything from current news, recommended, and review, all for the sole purpose of being, even if for a day, an hour, a few minutes, a positive place for people to be able to come to and feel good and have something to look forward to, man. That's what we do it for, we talk about all the time, brother. There's a lot of people are suffering. A lot of people are going through a lot of very difficult times. And if we can even be just a fraction of positivity in somebody's day, that's all we aim to achieve. And how we do that on this show is by breaking it up into 3 parts, which is stumble upon. This is where me and Miles talk about everything that we've stumbled upon throughout the week, interesting thoughts, ideas, and whatnot. And this week, we're going to be talking about Mother's Day gifting. And also, we're going to get into some personal things surrounding mental illnesses and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Getting deep into it. And where we go from there is current news.
The range.
Indeed. There's a lot of range. And you see me go right now. I'm flowing with it.
You got it.
It feels good to be back after 2 weeks of not doing this. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, yeah, man. For sure. I appreciate you. Welcome to my saying, letting them know what they're getting, man. Current news. I love it.
Indeed. And then from there, current news, as you say, Brother Miles, and on current news, what we get to is we reach for the absolute most hottest, most bubbling tea when it comes to news. And tea, that's something I learned from my sister to say. Tea, by the way, means
the tip top of the tea. Also, by the way, that's funny you say that. I actually was recommended. This is not what we go recommend and review, but I also heard a controversial statement that men shouldn't say tea.
Men should not say tea.
We're not allowed to use that. That's what I heard. Men should not say tea. It's a continuation, I think, of like that men shouldn't say issa, right? Like it's a party, it's a move, or type it or text it. There's a lot of things we're not allowed to do as men.
There's a lot of things, even the ways that we can compliment men. But anyways, we can get into that next week, because this week what we're getting into is the Seaspiracy documentary and documentaries in general, kind of diving deeper into what these types of documentaries mean to us, how we feel about it. I'm particularly excited for this just because of the fact that it's so popular, and it's something that a lot of people are talking about. And it's, in a world where we just flooded with documentaries, it's one of the ones that stood out to me.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get into just like documentaries as a whole, man, as a way to take in information, right? Like it's definitely do they hit, right? Does it make a difference? How long does that feeling of somebody should really do something linger and stay with you? Does it what's it called, push you to action? We'll get into all of that, man, for sure.
Definitely. And then from there, we have our absolute favorite part of the show, which is recommended and review. Now, Miles, can you please tell the people why this is our favorite part of the show?
People, I love recommended and review, because this is the part of the show where we get to interact with you. You know what I'm saying? We review what you recommend, and we recommend what we think is cool. And today, we're getting into the Isaiah Rashad and J. Cole tracks that just dropped, man. It's been a lot of music. Finally, it feels like the floodgates of music have opened.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, we got new Isaiah Rashad. We got new J. Cole. You played some stuff for me that I was like, man, that slaps. So I'm gonna need you to drop the names of some of them gems.
For sure.
And yeah, we got new Young Stoner Life. That new Young Thug project is dope. So that's important, man. That's recommended and reviewed the last part of the show, man. You already know what's going on, man. I'm so happy to be back in this space. You know what I'm saying? Without further ado, Joe Berg is in the building. You already know, man. Chicago is in the building. On this end, the building is in Chicago. You know what that means. This podcast is recorded, filmed, and curated on stolen land. Yes, we're in the United States, man, specifically in Chicago. This land was cared for by the Potawatomi people. You know, Native Americans, the Council of the Three Fires, cared for this land, and the violence done to them to remove them from this land is inseparable from the violence that we see perpetrated in Chicago today,
Yes, sir.
in the United States today, in this world today, and it's too much of this violence. So before anything else, we lift up love for Native American people the world over, for love between Black and brown people the world over. You know what I mean? With that intro over, let's get into the show, man. Stumble Upon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna open this one up because right now, as y'all are hearing this, one time, happy belated Mother's Day, one time for all the mothers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's important. That's important. I don't know. Mother's Day is in different times in different places. I know it's a different date in the UK. Is there a Mother's Day? Is there an official Mother's Day in South Africa?
If I celebrated Mother's Day here at the same time that you did there, I would assume that would have to be the international standard of when Mother's Day is. But it always does seem to sneak up on you. Like I never know exactly when Mother's Day is.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I do remember one particular Mother's Day back in college when we were all unsuspecting. You know, you get caught up in college. It might be difficult. You might not be going home for Mother's Day. But me and a few of our other homies woke up to just this beautiful, illustrious message to our mothers from Zwei, right? And his own mom, right? Got everybody encompassed in there. But just like acknowledging his mom for her protecting and providing, but then also acknowledging his mothers from the folks that have been in the States that have maybe housed him, just like showing love to all those spaces and all the mothers in those spaces on Mother's Day. And it was beautiful. And our mothers were reacting on Facebook, you know, it was heart emojis flying, likes everywhere. And amidst all of that, you know, a few of us, the guys were like, dang, man, what? Did you know you were going to do this? Man, this is a lot. What did you do for your mom? I don't know, man. I couldn't get back. I'm in Champagne. So you upstaged us, and ever since then, I've refused to be upstaged on Mother's Day.
Yeah,
and that's just showing care, thinking about it, keeping it present of mind. So, what I wanted to get into today a little bit was that, like, in occasions like this, right, like Mother's Day, when you think about gift giving, for some people that's their love language, right? Like for some people,
you're one of those people, by the way. Your love language is giving. I've known you long enough. I'll tell you in case you can't see it. That is your love. That is how you give. That is your love language of giving and your love language of receiving. Just so you know.
I do like to give. Some people are really good at it in the material sense, right? Like getting gifts, mailing them, getting them out to people in certain dates, picking a gift that's really like just fits the person. I try to do that. I really do. But there are some people that are just gifted, right? In giving gifts.
Yeah.
So what I find myself is, and sometimes it's the pattern, maybe this is good, maybe this is bad, but sometimes I get the good gift, the really good gift doesn't fall on like the person's birthday or Christmas. It's like I had this perfect idea and it hits on like St. Patrick's Day. No, I'm just playing. Like Mother's Day, right?
Like, St. Patrick's Day.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it feels, I don't know if you feel this way. Sorry, there's a truck passing by. I don't know if you hear that. Yeah. But I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes when the really good gift falls on the smaller holiday, you feel conflicted, right? And then it's like, man, am I going to have to outdo this gift on the birthday or Christmas, right? Like I'm gonna kill it right now, but we might be a little humble on your birthday because this is the kapow. Do you ever feel conflicted like that?
You see, and that's why I say that is your love language. Because no, I never think that at all. Like I'm never I'm never thinking 2 gifts ahead of time. I'm a get 1 gift at a time type of person, Because also in to me that is not necessarily my love language of giving. That my love language of giving is acts of service, right? And that's what I learned from my parents. Yes, I was afforded a lot of things, you know, coming from a household that could afford to give me things for sure, but it was the connection to when I got the things and the day of celebration were never the same thing, So it was actually kind of weird. Like on my birthday, they would downplay the birthday, completely downplay the birthday. Like even on birthdays, there wouldn't necessarily be gifts all the time. Sometimes it'd just be like, "Hey, nigga, this is a cake. Happy birthday. Keep it pushing." But then maybe at a random time I'd get a gift. You know what I'm saying? So growing up in that sense. So even for now, for Mother's Day, sure, we got my mom the gift, but the true gift was all of us coming together, spending time with each other, whatever. Like she didn't expect to receive anything. We didn't expect to give anything other than going there, cleaning the dishes, bringing her food, playing music, that type of thing, like acts of service, which is her way of showing love. And ultimately, we learn those things through our parents, right? We become a product of our environment. And from your household, your mother's a great gift giver. As someone that has spent Christmas with your house, and I could definitely see. I was like, oh, this is where he gets it from. She's so thoughtful in how she does it, and it's always there's an order to it. There's an art to how you guys do gift giving in your house, and I've actually stolen a few of those things.
Wow, that's awesome. We're supposed to adapt, right? That's what exposure to other cultures and spaces and the amazing gift that I think we've each had of being taken in by each other's families, right? That's huge in itself. But it's funny, that you say that because in very similar ways, acts of service were emphasized in my household throughout the year, regardless of holidays. But in a very different opposite way, like there was no gift giving except on holidays, right? If it wasn't your birthday or Christmas, don't even be looking around Toys R Us, Walgreens, wherever. Don't even go to the fun aisle in the grocery store where they keep the stuff that's not grocery. Don't even go over there. You ain't getting nothing. It ain't your birthday, it ain't Christmas. And I think part of that plays into the mindset that I have now, thinking 2 or 3 gifts ahead, because I don't know how like your calendar lines up, but I know for myself, right? Like there are certain parts of the year that just all of a sudden get hectic. You know what I mean? My mom's birthday is in May. Mother's Day is always in May. My grandmother's birthday is in
your birthday is
like,
May. That's May is your month. Mine is September. August to September. It's a problem.
Yeah, it gets a problem. Everybody's birthday, everybody's anniversaries, and you just get caught up there. And then what are the calendar holidays that are in there too, right? You turn right back around, and it's like, oh man, it's about to be Christmas. It's like that's tough. So that's what's got me. I'm hitting up the Mother's Day gift of my mother's birthdays in a couple of weeks as well.
I see.
Killing the Mother's Day gift, but I'm thinking, the birthday gift is gonna supplement, but it might not be. You think of the birthday as bigger, and the gift might not be the same. Though I'm killing the Mother's Day.
Yeah,
so it'd be like that.
If I can shoot at you 21 questions, you feel me? What would you say is the best gift you've ever given? What's the best gift you've ever received? And what gift do you hope to give to someone someday?
Wow, those are great questions. Best gift I've ever received easily recently for Christmas. A friend of mine, shout out to Lilani, she needs a drop. She said she wanted a drop for every time we use something that she says, or that she has contributed to the show, which will be a lot. That's our behind the scenes female perspective. But for Christmas, she got me a book of her artwork.
Mm.
So she drew, did sketches, paintings, or whatever in this book. And now I have a like unlike these on these small like about this size piece of paper for everybody who can see like an index card, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
That I can kind of take out of this book and place around my house is just these little. I want to laminate them because they're on paper, but I don't want them to get ruined. But they're
Yeah.
just these small pieces of art. Some of them that directly relate to things that I like. Some of them are just directly things that she likes and is amazing at painting or drawing. But so that's the best gift I think I've ever received, aside from the gift of life from my parents and the whole house, food, bread, life growing up, clothes on my back.
besides raising me as a rose through the concrete, from Southside Chicago all the way into the epitome of Black life. It's a coloring book for sure.
Yes, I love the way that you summed that up. 1,000%. If we're excluding that,
and you're gonna drop this on Mother's Day, your mom's gonna be listening to this episode like, word, Miles. Is that? But
that's exactly why I'm bodying the Mother's Day gift. That's why I have to body it. No, but you know what I mean. You can, and it just speaks to the fact of like people tell you, make something, that can mean more than something that's bought. It really can if the time and effort is put into it. When you look at the paintings that she did, I almost want to show them if I wasn't going to disrupt the timing, but it's time and effort that you put into that, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that makes somebody feel good. So that's the best gift that I've ever received. The best gift that I've ever given. We're gonna keep the theme going of things that people have made, right? Because I'm a broke nigga. And I one time was seeing this woman that loved So You Think You Can Dance, right? And what I did was I took all the clips of all the dances from So You Think You Can Dance, because she loved the dancing. She did, and we would watch the show together, and she would fast forward through the commercials, and she would fast forward through all the judgments, and giving her own judgment throughout the thing, because I like them like that. She's judging them, but she don't want to hear what anybody else's judgment of the people. She's fast forwarded through the stuff. So I was like, let me get her just the dances. So I clipped out all the So You Think You Can Dance clips for like 7 seasons, just the dances as like movie files, and organized them by season, by like chronological episode or whatever, by couple, by like pair in the season, and gave her all of that on like a USB so she could watch just the dances whenever she wanted, forever. That's
dope.
That's one of them, you know what I mean? Off the top, you know what I mean? I guess I do this gift giving thing a little bit. And then your last question, and these questions slap, bro. What is a gift that I want to give somebody someday is I'll rob what I said as my auxiliary first gift, is that I want to be able to give my children, children, right? Like the opportunities that I had, which isn't necessarily like a silver spoon, which isn't necessarily like like wealth, right? But a wealth of care, right? And a wealth of just basic access to opportunities, right? Like just and role models, right? So boom, a wealth of care, basic access to opportunities, and role models, I think are all part of the village that it takes to raise a child. So the gift that I want to hope to be able to give at some point is to create that environment for my children, and create that environment for my partner, and create that environment for my family and for my community, and as many people as possible, right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you all those questions. I don't know how you feel about responding to them time wise. They were really dope. Do you want to, because we're about to move, what do you want to do?
Very quickly, the gift, I can't I can't see any other bigger gift than the privileges that have been afforded to me through the sweat of my parents and the people that care about me. Undoubtedly, that's the foundation of my entire humility and appreciation of life, is the fact that somebody cared about me enough to work as hard as they did to give me the opportunities that they've never had. So that undoubtedly is the biggest gift. And then if we're speaking more material in that sense, my dad he gifted me a little something that make the wrist feel cold when you put it on. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? It's a little weighty. It's a little weighty.
It's got some heft, a little heft to it.
And like, listen, my G, I'm not calling out anything. I'm not saying anything about anybody's anything. But some people's things be ticking when they're not supposed to be ticking. You feel me? And so I'm just saying, you know, we know about these things too, and we looking. Y'all wearing fake watches, and we know it.
Talk your shit, King.
Nah,
I don't know.
The funny thing too.
Go ahead.
The funny thing about it is that I don't wear watches.
Yeah, I was gonna say I stay out this whole game by wearing wooden watches. That's my thing. Can't really compare them to like the fancier stuff.
They're fancy for a different purpose.
That's right. That's right.
A few years ago, I decided to stop wearing watches, and haven't really worn watches ever since that, which is odd because I have my grandfather's watch, I have my father's watch. Like they are big, and we're big watch people. So I've taken on that love, but I only pull it out on occasion if I have to, you know, for a special thing, and it's just, for the most part, just try to keep everything as minimalistic as I can.
I'm a weirdo, and so in some very strategic ways, and very much not in others. Like I plan for the apocalypse and downfall of technology. So like at some point in my head between like 17 and like 19, I was like, I'm not gonna be one of those people that can't read an analog clock like quickly just by looking at it. So I started wearing watches and just like forcing myself to not be the person that, what time is it? And goes immediately for their phone and checks their thing.
Yeah.
So like, it's just one of those weird things that I picked up. So I'll be like, oh, okay, let me make sure that I can still read the analog stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a just grandpa in case the world is. Right. I'm a grandpa in many ways like that, right? That's also why I'm collecting all the music and stashing, you know, cans and water in my basement. But y'all see one day.
No, for sure. Then the best gift I've ever given, I'd have to say that one is the giving people time, like honest time. I think the best gift I've ever given is starting the foundation, and then the what we able to give people on a weekly basis, nigga. That's the biggest gift that I think I've ever given. That is my life's work of gifts, if you will, you know. And if anything,
all this man's answers were deep.
You know what type of podcast about the deep, baby. You know, let me just keep it short. So, you know.
I love it.
So, yeah, for sure, that portion. And what gift I love to give is, I have to piggyback off your answers too, man. I'd love to give the gift of life, the miracle of life, you know, and be able to afford that life with an entire experience that is far greater than the one that I've had, with full respect to the people that have done that to me. And also, and this is for you, I'd love to get you a Wrangler, the Spider-Man themed Wranglers, just sitting on 22s with red lining in them, interior ox blood, outside dark, license plate says on phone.
On phone down. I love it.
That is a gift that I'm gonna get you.
Oh, well, we're speaking of illustrious future gifts, man. I hope to one day be able to bless you with your Rockefeller chain. You know what I'm saying? But forget that. Our man, whether it says Mandulo or All the Way Live or Live House Productions, I'm gonna bless you one day. We're gonna be at a very fancy dinner, and a waiter is gonna tap you on the shoulder. You'll think it's gonna be another. He's asking to pour the Pinot, but instead there will be a black velvet box, and he'll have your chain in it. You know,
what restaurant is it gonna be?
Wingstop, nigga. Bottle service and Wingstop. You already know where we're going. The future is bright.
You say my chaining day is gonna be at a Wingstop. Which waiter is coming?
That's right.
The jewelry box is full of chicken grease.
Hey, you remember MJ? MJ is actually doing chicken and beer on the South Side. It's like 1428. It's the Heralds in the South Loop that he's doing chicken wings and beer at that spot every Saturday all summer.
That's
so
dope.
It's possible. Don't say it. That is chicken wings and beer at Harold's is one small step.
For sure.
For man. Away from Kino and lemon pepper wings. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Ordering Pinot at Wingstops, by the way, is nuts. Just so you know.
Hey.
It's nuts.
Hey, the future is bright. Hey, bro. I like it. I feel good. This feels like the first half of the sequel movie where he's showing you that he's learned a lot since you last saw him. So I think we can move right into our next little segment here.
Mm-hmm.
Current news.
Ooh, there you go. Oh, oceans, current, seaspiracy.
Oh, it gets deep.
Yo. And before we even move on to current news, man, it's important that I acknowledge very quickly RIP, my cousin, my nigga Tefo. Bite, I miss you, nigga. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Tragically took his life not so long ago, man, you know, and so it is with a heavy heart that we're doing this. It's important, you know, to acknowledge that, to acknowledge him, and acknowledge anybody that's going through something difficult. What we say at the beginning of the show is so true in the sense that we really do want this to be a space where somebody can look forward to something that can brighten somebody's day up. You know, that's the entire intention and purpose behind it. You know what I'm saying? And even if I want to say I wish I could have gifted him one of these episodes, you know what I mean? Or better yet, the same intention or similar, or just something to be able to uplift him in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Because in my understanding of what it is to take your life, it is a symptom of a very dark condition.
Yeah.
It is not a natural thought to be able to want to take your life and to exercise it. You know?
And from what I understand, it's typically something that somebody is thinking about for a while, right? Something that's weighing on a person and an out that they consider, you know, for over time. And the poignant thing about that is that you never know what people are going through, right? Like you never know, right? Unless you really take the time to find out and to open up and share. And so I appreciate you just making space for that, right? There's no the phrase an untimely death, right, is kind of oxymoronic or redundant, right? Because there's no good time, right, for someone to pass, for us to lose a loved one, right? Especially when that person has parents that have to witness that. When that person has loved ones, friends, siblings, right, cousins. And so it's difficult, it's tough, it's uncomfortable to be in the space of loss, to be in the space of wondering what could have been done. So I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I appreciate you being honest about just, you know, that is part of both. You know, it's heavy, but it's also part of what's inspiring us to continue to do this work, continue to, you know, not only do the work that we do to try and lift up communities, but also the work of just being positive people, right? And trying to radiate that in everything that we do. And this is a huge part of that. So if you hear this, we hope that you feel seen. We hope that you feel heard hearing us, right? This is for anybody who is willing to admit that it's hard out here, that this ain't easy, that I feel pressed, I feel stressed. This is not, you know what I mean? Like, I do get tired. I love Kevin Gates, but I do get tired. You know what I mean? And so this is the realness. This is that. You know what I mean? And all the joy that comes with that. The flip side, the rebound, how we bounce back from that is beautiful. The resilience. But it's important to acknowledge that, that the lows do hurt, that things do get heavy. It's important to take some time to pour out a little love, libations in whatever form they may come for the homies. And this is a space to do that. So we need to get a drop that symbolizes that, you know what I mean? Much we want to plug other podcasts, but I love that for a while the Joe Budden podcast was playing Outstanding after any segment that was kind of heavy. So I think we need to get something that kind of helps us level set after something like that. But I appreciate you. I love you. I love y'all.
Yeah,
it's
man.
All love.
Yeah. And to be able to level us out, it's important to also remember that the joy that I get from the joy that I'm able to pull and come to this show to do comes from a place of realizing that, you know, as dark as things can get, for me, you know, things are a whole lot darker for some other people, and things are a whole lot more heavier for some people. You don't know what people are going through, and so just it's a sad, definitely, but you know, there's so much appreciation of the beauty of life that is staring us in the face, you know, and it really isn't necessarily a particular thing that you'll be able to point at and say that one thing is beautiful, but it's more so the quest of being able to, of wanting to find the beauty in life and opening yourself to whatever it might be able to bring you. And the way to do that is by having a presence of mind, being in that moment, enjoying that moment, live in that, you know, be in that space and that time. That's how you open your eyes to appreciation, man. So, you know, for me to go through that was difficult, but also then being able to know that we have this space to be able to speak to these people is something that gives me so much joy. And so, you know, it's as we always say, this is a celebration of life, man. And have a party with us.
Damn, Leon, when you become such a wise nigga, man?
I've always been. You just never noticed.
I've always been. Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, man. Sir. Current news, baby. Current news. Miles.
All right. Time out before we get into this topic. Not really, but time out before we get into this topic.
Wait, is this a real timeout or not a real timeout?
This is a fake timeout.
Oh, okay. Cool. I started pulling things.
This is a fake timeout, but I want the listeners to just take a minute before we get into anything else about this documentary to examine the credibility of this feature film that depicts the lives of ocean life, marine life, and our effect on them. It's important to consider one thing. This film is called Seaspiracy. How do you miss conspiracy? How do you miss conspiracy on the way to Seaspiracy?
Conspiracy. That is the name of the
conspiracy.
Episode. That is the name of the episode.
How do you miss that?
No. Seaspiracy? Come on, guys. Come on. It's like they started at the first few letters and just stopped there.
You're starting off on a bad foot, Seaspiracy, but all right.
Yeah.
So
That's hilarious.
Let me ask you, was this recommended to you, or did this just kind of, was this a Netflix scroll? How did you come across this?
My girlfriend pulled up Seaspiracy, and if we're gonna tell people exactly what Seaspiracy is, I'm reading now fresh off of IMDb. Feel me? Seaspiracy is a 2021 documentary film about the environmental impact of fishing, directed by and starring Al Tabrizi, a British filmmaker. The film premiered on Netflix. Okay, so it's about the environmental impact of fishing. That's all they gave me. Full stop.
That's real. That's real. I mean,
it's kind of what all the movie's about, anyways.
Yeah, the key takeaway that I got from it was that while it's important for us all to be conscious of what's going on with marine life in the oceans, the plastic in the ocean is a huge problem, but a greater contributor to that than individual consumption of things like straws or soda can, plastic rings, is things like fishing nets and equipment used in industrial fishing. That's plastic that causes harm to marine life. Essentially, the whole documentary was uh, taking shots at the industrial fishing industry, both how it taxes the ecosystem of marine life and how it pushes and marginalizes smaller people who fish individually for food or for smaller enterprises um, that fish in less like mass
Mm.
ways, right? So just off the rip, was it and their solution, by the way, we'll just get that out of the way, was stop eating fish. Don't do it. Don't eat the fishes. So
That's
fish
okay.
are
That's it.
friends. Fish are friends, not food. That's what they said, right?
Yeah, but like that can't be the answer.
Well, so you were not swayed by Seaspiracy.
I I was very much awoken to the plethora of debris that fishing has, right? Like the fact when they pulled out the fact that majority of what over it's over 50%, 55% of all the waste in the ocean is just fishing equipment alone, and straws and things that we use or that are better yet marketed as the ones that contribute the most to the wasting are only 5% of the total waste of that fish. That's you know what I mean, or the total waste of plastic waste in the ocean. Um, that's insightful, right? But I don't think the answer necessarily lies in us not eating fish. It's the fish is being consumed by humans for a very, very long time. There is such a thing as striking a balance, but it's just a matter of regulating the companies that do it. But I guess the documentary just speaks on how there's no true regulation that's happening there whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely. How the regulators are often in the pockets and in compromising positions with
Mm,
the fishing companies themselves. How a lot of the labels, and I've outside of fish, right, organic, grass fed, right, all of these labels that we see in the grocery
GMO,
store,
non-GMO.
right, that there's not as much hard regulation behind a lot of these things as you might think. So um yeah, man. I mean, it was an interesting documentary. I will say that for sure when I see things like what they depicted with the whales, right? The whales being killed, in mass, right, on the shores of these oceans, in a way that's very graphic and bloody.
Mm,
They're killing these animals with machetes on the beach, right? It's hard not to be moved by that. It's hard not to feel like this needs to stop. But I agree, in my day-to-day life it's hard for me to translate that all the way to being like, I'm not going to eat fish. I need to do more research, and I think that kind of broadens the question to like, how effective are documentaries, right?
mm.
I think I enjoy them a lot. There's something that I put on in the background to just like pass the time, or to kind of feel like I'm watching something that's more stimulating than like a sitcom or whatever that might be fiction. But how much does it really move people to action? And yeah, what's your take on documentaries effectiveness?
I for one find it as a great medium of information, right? They really do help in synthesizing information quite succinctly, in a order. A good documentary done well, can be able to lay out the order of things and the order of information, which sometimes helps in being able to digest it and understanding it. So from that perspective, I definitely think that documentaries are extremely useful. Documentaries such as let's see what are some the SeaWorld documentary. What was it?
Blackfish, I think.
Blackfish. Blackfish was a
Super
very
Size Me.
Super Size Me was a very big one. I controversially now Fahrenheit 9/11, depending on where you lie on it, but for the fact that it was able to place information in a way that made people think. Granted, despite how he was able to connect those despite how he was able to connect those the conclusions in that movie, the fact that he laid out information that some people don't know about, and people took it in. So, do we say Supersize Me?
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Supersize Me as well. Supersize Me led to a whole different marketing campaign that went on to and in fast food restaurants and whatnot. They removed the supersized stuff, started taking in a lot more healthier narratives. Super High Me by Doug Benson.
Right. I love that. That's the only one we know the documentarian for. Like, have all the auxiliary information for. Super High Me, released in 2017. Doug Benson.
That movie that documentary is ridiculous.
Yeah, it as I imagine a weed fueled examination of weed itself would be, right? But there was another one that I was Food Inc. was kind of a follow up to Supersize Me, and yeah, man, and that's the I guess that's the heart of the question. Is I certainly know people, especially around like the Food Inc. Supersize Me era that were affected by that stopped eating meats, that's cut certain things out of their diet, and yeah, I think I also, as somebody who enjoys documentaries, I wonder if how much is what is there to be said about the idea that like it's a good way to get introduced to a topic, but there's a lot of then what, right? I think there's documentaries that are really interesting, that depict the past, that depict things that have already happened and kind of been resolved, that are really important to shed light on the things that we've gone through, right, as different parts of our history. But then there are things that shed light on things that are going on now. And I think it's really good to expose as many different people to the information as possible, especially when we're in an age where like reading is not as
prominent
as prominent as common an activity that everyone is doing. There's very few sources of read material that you can be confident that all of your neighbors or community members have read in a different way that you can be sure everybody has seen Game of Thrones or whatever it might be, right? So I think it's really interesting to think about like just what that means in terms of documentaries' usefulness as a information dispersal, but then where the line is between that and making actual change, right? Documentaries as information and change makers. Because when I watch something like 13th,
I was about to mention 13th.
Super moved. Go on, tell us more.
So even going off of 13th, right? Then you have these moments now where we're in a society that can be able to react to information in a way that has not necessarily been possible before. Our reaction to media now can actually be able to lead to some change. If you see how people being able to galvanize with cancel culture and things of that nature, we're a reactive society now in that way. And so even with things like 13, that woke up a lot more people to exactly how systemic the system is when it comes to prison industrial complex, and how the Black people are essentially slaves when they're becoming incarcerated and things like that, and how that looks like on a legislative in a legislative format, and what that also translates to in the reality of how this is a business at the end of the day, and the easiest people to be and the people that suffer the most are people of color, as per the legislation of how this thing is done. So with documentaries like 13th, with even documentaries like what's the big documentary? Not documentary. It was the South Central 4. Damn, what's the name?
Are you thinking of the trial of the Chicago 7, or are you thinking of When They See Us?
When They See Us is what When They See Us is what I'm referring to.
When They See Us is interesting because it's a dramatization of real events that's followed up by a conversation with the actual people that experienced it, with the director and Oprah. And I think that combination is super powerful, right? Almost, I mean, that was really hard for me to watch.
It's hard to watch, dude.
But I think that your point really brings another interesting question, is that line between educating and entertaining people, right? And that idea of when there's so many different topics that you can give a documentary about, there's so many different things that you can talk about and touch on. Some of those are obviously going to be less actionable, more dramatized, more entertainment value than others, where you're talking about a serious issue that's going on now, and that work very hard, like 13th, to lay out the elements of our current system and how they play a role and who can be held accountable, right? Kind of putting it at people's feet, spoon feeding people the information that is actionable, the people that could potentially be held responsible. All documentaries requiring further research. But I think the pool gets muddy, right? When you have things that are really just for entertainment and kind of silly, kind of more like Don't Fuck with Cats, right? And then you have 13th.
Great documentary.
Right.
If you want to learn about how far white people on the internet are willing to take their time on the internet, it's an incredible documentary of sheer white internet willpower.
Yeah. So I think it just speaks to the diversity of the genre of documentaries, and I think the important notes are, there's always more research to be done after you watch a documentary, but it's a good way to like dip your toe in a topic, I think.
Yeah, and also with Seaspiracy specifically, what it brought me to is it makes you realize we're doing so much destruction just around us in general. You know, the climate change is a real thing. It's evident. We're seeing it. It's happening in front of our very eyes. The rate in which we're abusing the coral reefs, the rate in which we're polluting, the rate in which we're wasting, the rate of there's fires being started in Brazil. There's it's a mess. It's a mess all over from a nature perspective in terms of our impact on it. So it makes me wonder, do we see the full destruction of nature in our lifetime? Or what does the last days of our life look like from with respect to our relationship with nature, right? Like, are we at a place where we have not reversed, where we have not been able to successfully reverse our pollution to a point where, you know, things are starting to pick back up? Or
I think it's tough, right? It's a toss up. It depends on whether you're an optimist or a cynic, right? I think it's very possible that within our lifetime we haven't seen enough climate change related damage for nations across the world to come together to confront it as an issue. I think it's possible for the next 60 years we keep our head in the sands kind of about this. And I think what that looks like is a continuation of what we've already seen, right? The environment kind of dying a little bit at a time. I think what we'll see is a lot more extinctions of different types of species, right? Like the fact that like it's iffy whether my kids will ever see a rhino, it's kind of crazy, right? Like I love rhinos, dude.
Yeah.
But I digress. There's like it's just really interesting to think about like these like you mentioned coral reefs. Like, will people be able to see or like still go scuba diving and see a coral reef? Will people still have access to clean beaches, or will these things, right, continue to be relegated to people with a lot of money? Right, you got to have a lot of money now to go hang out on a beach. You got to have a lot of money now to go to a zoo. Right, there's not a lot of these animals left, and I think that's the kind of the trend that we'll see, is that there will be a scarcity of these beautiful creatures that are rare now, and we'll be talking about a lot of things that we've experienced, that our grandparents and great grandparents experienced, like the dinosaurs, right, on a much shorter time scale.
Our great grandparents didn't experience the dinosaurs, by the way, just so you know.
Yes, I know that, bro. But they experienced like pandas, right? And our great grandchildren might not, right?
Our great grandparents never experienced pandas.
Pandas?
In Africa? They never experienced pandas in Africa. So.
All right, dude.
We just learned about it. You know, in the motherland, Miles, where you really from, brother? Where you really from, brother?
Yeah.
that white demon bear doesn't exist around here. They got black bears in Africa, son.
The animals I care about reveal that I'm really not down for the cause. If you was real, you would be talking about, white elephants versus black elephants.
Exactly.
You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying?
For the record, No bears in Africa. Neither are there black
You
elephants.
said no bears?
I bet you didn't know that. There are no bears in Africa, Miles.
I didn't say there were bears in Africa.
No. But I'm just confirming your disbelief of that fact because I know you didn't know that.
I mean, you're right. When it comes to Africa, you got to rule stuff out before you like include it. You know what I mean? I just kind of assume that y'all got pretty much everything. Y'all don't
Yeah,
got
I know.
bears. All right.
I know. That's the
didn't say
assumption.
that.
No cap, I was a little disappointed when I made that realization too. I was
Like nowhere though, no bears anywhere. Like no
No.
Egyptian bears and shit.
no, there are no such things as
I feel like
Egyptian
Kenya would
bears.
have bears, some little red ass bears and shit. No.
You know, Africa is a place of and here's some. We're going to talk about some fascinating theories, right? Conspiracies. Not even a conspiracy, but is in like Africa has a lot of the apex predators here are felines, right? And felines tend to usually hunt in the dark. They're hunt from trees, can jump down from trees. You have cheetahs, lions, all of that, right? And so that's the prominent apex predator here. So from an anthropological perspective, with humanity, at least our earliest understanding of where humanity started from and migrated to, our fear of the dark is related to our relation to the apex predators that through evolution we have had to adjust towards. You know, the person that's not jumpy at night is the person that's going to die. So this fear and relation with the night can be related to that, or at least that is one of the theories surrounding evolution and our respect to the nighttime.
Damn. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's really interesting when you hear about like these evolutionary or scientific principles that explain like very day-to-day like activities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, boom, you were scared of predators, which is behind a lot of like mechanisms of anxiety and stuff, but also like that's why you're scared of the dark. That's why you in college always came downstairs with your BB gun whenever you went to go get milk. You know what I'm saying? From the fridge.
Legacies of being impoverished, bro. I'm just a kid for the streets, dude. That's really what this comes down to. Just a boy from the
hood. Yeah. Going to eat cold pizza in the middle of the night, looking around the corners, huh? Who's there?
Now, come on, now don't incriminate me like that, man.
Yeah. J. Cole, what's the J. Cole track?
Listen. Recommended and review, you know what I'm saying? Where we review what you recommend and recommend what you should view or what we think is cool. And what today we getting into is The Interlude by J. Cole and Lay With You by Isaiah Rashad, right? Where you want to start? Let's
start with the Rashad track because that's the last one that that's the last one that we listened to. Rashad we haven't really gotten anything from Rashad in a while. The last album to come out was Sun's Tirade. That came out in 2016. Before that, the last that we got from him was from 2012 with Sylvia Demo. Is my timing right?
I think you're spot on, bro.
Yeah, 2012 Sylvia Demo, 2016. 2012 Sylvia Demo came out when we moved into Loft 54.
That might be 2013 or 14, but you're right.
It's in that ballpark. It's in that ballpark, but yeah. Whatever the case is. Haven't heard anything from Rashad since 2016, Sun's Tirade. We consider it his best work that he's put out. We got Why Worried that dropped out a few features, but Why Worried was like the first official TDU thing that we got back. Didn't hear anything back again since that Why Worried, which was in 2020. And then we get these. In between that, a plethora of what I consider some of the hottest leaks on the internet. Go do a deep dive on Rashad leaks and just have a ball of a time there. Even that last track, that came out busting shit. What's the leak for that? It's stupid. It's stupid.
That track that's on the tail end of the music
Yes.
video.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Some artists be playing with us with leaks, man. There's a Meek snippet about
Meek type beat.
triple beams. No. It's like triple beams, and it's got like this guitar riff. If you look up Meek triple beam snippet, crazy, that never dropped, man. So I've been burned before. Is essentially what I'm saying. I'm trauma informed and exposed when it comes to that snippet game. This is a return from a hiatus is an interesting choice. B is an interesting choice, especially following the TDE loading screen. 05, 07, 21. The wait is over, and this is what you get. With all that in mind, with the build up, with the hype, how did you feel finally pressing play on some new Rashad?
It was lackluster. It was quite lackluster. And that's not just to be reactionary, right? If we're gonna be thorough with our and I don't want this ever to become a podcast where we're just being reactionary to things, where we are just reacting to songs. But as a speaking from a fan's perspective, as somebody whose son's tirade has helped them through some tough times, and someone that's revered this artist for a long time and considered him a creative spectacle in the hip hop sphere, where his sound and style is very close to what would you'd consider the popular style, but it's such a interesting take on it. Somebody who has a very strong sense of creativity that oozes out of them from doing the very not I don't want to say the very least, but Rashad doesn't have to Rashad doesn't have to force extreme concepts. Let me say like sequiturs. Rashad doesn't fall under the pressure of having.
He doesn't have to make all that much sense.
He doesn't have to make all that much sense. I'm trying to find the best way to be able to put it, because I don't want to sound redactionary in saying that Rashad doesn't make sense, because that's not true. But he doesn't. He does not. His pattern doesn't have to follow a logical pattern in how he delivers it, which is dope. It's like the focus is on how do you say the dopest shit. How do you make the deepest shit sound dopest, and that's where the priority is, and that's what we respect him for. That being said, this does not sound like that. Even the visuals for it, I think even the visuals for it are very basic. Even the feature for it, with Duke Deuce, like Duke Deuce for sure is lit, but that's not the best way I think to use Duke Deuce. Duke Deuce needs crunk. Like that's what it is. Like Duke needs crunk. That's what he gets off on. And this is not that. This seems to me like they were like, Rashad, you do your thing, and then this seems packaged. This seems like the decision to create this and put it out was made by somebody else.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I'll say when I first heard it, the first thing I thought was, okay, he came with something that slaps, right? He came with something that on the production end has got a lot of bass to it. He didn't put out something flowery first, like nothing soft. He was going with his ear-catching record. I think this is maybe not a radio record, but this is something that I think you would want played in a DJ set at a club or something like that, right? The video even speaks to it's a party song, right? So I was glad that he was trying to do some of that, because I think that hits well. I think his energy, he doesn't do it often, right? A lot of times he makes a lot more records that are much harder to classify than this, which I think is very much a 808, and maybe part of the feature is that. But I was glad at what he was attempting to do. I will say that I gave this and the J. Cole track a run in the car. And this got, like, it upped it half a grade, and the J. Cole track went down half a grade.
Damn. Dave,
get there.
before we get to that contract, a thing that makes me quite critical on Rashad is based on the fact that to me he's the dark horse in this race of the king of the new, right? Or he has the potential to be that. So leading with this, it's like, bro, are you seeing what Boogie is doing right now? Like, are you seeing what they created? Even if maybe from a skills perspective, JID is not necessarily, JID still has a lot more refining to go to. Let me not say even refining to go through. Let's just say there's still a popularity element that's missing from JID. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A commerciality of it. But anyways, the competition is tough, is to say. The competition is tough, and to lead with this, that for me is disappointing in that sense. When I'm looking around at what the contemporaries are doing, even Ghetto Lenny, if niggas aren't paying attention
St. John.
to St. John. If dudes aren't paying attention to what St. John is doing, St. John is taking that Uzi diamond off of his head and just sprinting with it for real.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting the dynamic it creates. Guys like Reason, JID, Boogie,
Mick
even Kenny
Jenkins.
Mason, right? Yeah, for sure. It puts a different expectation on all of the songs, and I can see how from that perspective, this might not be, when you compare the most recent efforts of all of those guys, this might not stand out right among those tracks. But there's also something to be said about the TDE machine and the way that TDE does things. As the song was going off, this one I was like, all right, that was cool. Like I like the hook, right? I think it's cool. I think it's a different I think it's creative. But what I really took away from it was this reminded me of Humble as the first song we heard from Damn. Where I was like, everybody loves it and it goes hard and it slaps, and it's good to hear Kendrick rapping on something that's braggadocious and up tempo and could be a club record, right? For people to like dance to or whatever. Do TikToks too is another thing artists have to take in mind in this day and age, right? But when I'm hearing this song, I'm like, okay, I don't know Isaiah to do this much, so this might be the one. And something tells me that the whole album is not going to sound like this.
I don't think so.
Something tells me that this might be the standout normal record from a very different, body of work. And that's something that carries into the Cole conversation too. When you talk about an Isaiah Rashad, you're talking about, or even a J. Cole, you're talking about somebody who the space between projects puts them in a position whether they want to or not, people are expecting that next project to be a body of work, right? It's not like a Mozzie or a
Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs you do expect now. I think now Freddie Gibbs is at that place where anything Freddie touches is a body of work,
Yeah, but there's people that you expect to drop an album of songs like every year. Future's gonna do it. You know what I mean? You're gonna get either
Baby, Gunna.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's you're gonna get what you're gonna get. But when you take a long time between projects, I think people start to expect either a concept or a really crystallized, set of songs. And when I hear TDE release an up-tempo party record as the first record from one of their artists that people have been waiting for a long time, it doesn't automatically make me think like, oh, this is what we're going to get on the album. It really makes me think this is what people are going to like, and the album is going to be something more elaborate. That's how it was with Damn. So we'll see.
A homie of mine said TDE gives him Death Row vibes, and I don't think he's wrong in that. Even in the pace in which they release music, and when I wanted to counter that, I would say, no, that's not true. Artists at TDE aren't frustrated with the way music is being released, and then you think back on how SZA had to drop her album and had to literally scream for that album to be released. I think it might speak to a particular the way that we appreciate TDE in hip hop. Me, for one, I don't know about anybody else, but I was not expecting TDE to give me what we've all been waiting for. You feel me? I wasn't expecting that. I was actually expecting disappointment, and I think that just speaks into TDE's output strategy and what that means.
Yeah.
But you're right in this in the way that they have a rhythm in how they do it with Humble. I recognize this in this video. SZA at the end of her recent videos has been previewing the next track that she'd be dropping, and those snippets would get gang fucking plays, and they chop those up. And they did the same thing here with that came out busting thing. It's kind of like a to be continued, if you will.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I like that, man. There are certain elements of hip hop that I think are so dope, and that other mediums it would behoove them to take that on. I think we can do that in some ways, right? Whether it be snippets, whether it's just like, talking about features in cool ways, right? Just the ways that things are laid out in hip hop, collaboration, all of it just feeds into the dopeness of it. I think that's really dope. It was cool to see Reason in this TDE video. That's something that TDE does well. Speaking of Death Row and the vibe that they give off, it's an old school celebrity type of organization where it's like, you're not going to see too much of us. You're not going to get everything. You know what I mean? People are going to be behind the veil. And so when you get a glimpse, it's dope. People want to break it down, like you said, and take the snippet and analyze it, make it its own video. So I think that to some extent it works. I just wish we would get more of our favorite artists. Speaking of more of our favorite artists, I know J. Cole is an artist that is near and dear to your heart, my friend.
Indeed.
And so we're talking about somebody who well established in the game. You know what I'm saying? I think he's been well legend established since 2014 Forest Hills. For Your Eyes Only, the follow-up to that got kind of mixed reviews. I think KOD got mixed reviews, but I think everybody can appreciate the talent that was displayed on it, whether you like the content or not. And now we're seeing him kind of return from that after a couple of other notable some stuff like False Prophets, his commentary on Wale and Kanye as an individual track, Snow on the Bluff, his commentary on No Name, and kind of the situation with wokeness and the expectations we have of each other within the community, specifically the Black community. He's been known to speak out on issues through his music and individual singles. And now it seems like another body of work is coming. We got the Interlude, J. Cole, the Interlude. What did you think?
It's difficult to criticize Cole as a deep Cole fan because we give Cole so much space to be able to do what Cole wants to do. To a certain extent, we're gonna internalize it, we're gonna take it, we're gonna appreciate it, And I know you feel the same about Cole as well. This particular track right here it's possible that it's following a similar it's following an algorithm that is more into or trying to speak towards however music is made popular today. I don't think it's a track that tries to be necessarily popular, but as a Cole fan, I'm willing to withhold how I feel about this song to see how it fits in the total scheme of the project. Off of just a replayability listen, I don't think I'm gonna necessarily go back to it quite often. Do I think it's better than the Rashad track? Yes, I think it's better than the Rashad track. Yeah, I think it's better than the Rashad track. I think it tries harder at the very least.
Interesting.
And for the sheer fact that it tries slightly harder than that. If we had to come up with a rap concert, we could execute that. I'm not like not in that sense, but like I don't want to say I can do what he does, but I'm just saying the concept of what that is quite rudimentary in the scheme of what constitutes as a hip hop concept. You know what I mean? Cole tying the line between the Ace that Jesus died, Pimp C and Nipsey. That try like that's an effort to share information. That's an effort to go beyond a slapper. Granted, not all hip hop has to have the same intention. I'm just saying as a fan.
Yeah, I think that's a really dope. I mean, you laid it out in a very complex way, right? You're able to give appreciation for the elements of each song and what they do well, while kind of laying out your preference for something that's trying to be more right than just a song, just sounds, right, just a party. Give you something to think about. Man, I think you bodied it.
What about you though? Better than, worse than? What are your thoughts
Yeah,
on the? You shared a little bit on the Rashad track, but what are your thoughts on the Cole track as well?
Yeah, I gotta say, and part of this, as I alluded to earlier, I gave them both the car test, so I let them both run in the whip, and that, like I said, it boosted the Isaiah Rashad track for me, and I don't think that's surprising, right? Something that slaps. It was one of the first few sunny days we've had in Chicago in a minute, so to be able to have my windows down and playing something that kind of has some bump to it, that felt good. When I got to the J. Cole track, it is, like you said, a lot more experimental. It is trying harder to be something. It is over a much more complex sample. And so I found myself kind of being like, this isn't as easy to um, be in my own zone while I listen to it. And for some reasons, that's good, right? Like, for some reasons, you want a track to kind of pull you in, take you into its world, rather than to be background music to whatever
Mm.
you got going on. So in that way, I can appreciate what you're saying. But the dynamic, and this is tough, and maybe I'm struggling to tell whether I'm actually playing devil's advocate or whether I really feel this way. But we have so much Cole that means so much, and he said so much of what he says here and so many other songs, that I don't necessarily need this song as much as I need this slap by Isaiah. And to the point of replay value, I will probably play Lay With You more times in my life going forward than I will play Interlude, I think.
I
Right?
would say so too. I would say so too, but I can still I love Kendrick, but I don't always listen to Kendrick.
Also that. But I get what you're saying, that some music that's really good stays on the shelf, like liquor that's really good. You bring it out for special occasions when you're feeling celebratory, but that it always hits. I don't know if I feel that. I feel that way about a lot of Cole's catalog. I don't know if I feel that way about this song. You
Yeah,
dig me?
yeah. But with Cole's best work, I mean, if we're just going through it, you have
I would say
Boys
January
in
28th is up there. Is one
no,
of
but I
the
mean in terms of albums, right?
2014 Forest Hills, Born Sinner. I
No,
would say,
Born Center over 2014 Forest Hills, and we've had this conversation before.
yeah, yeah. And I think I always go with Born Sinner.
It's because it's his best work. Born Center, I think Born Center is undoubtedly his best work.
Yeah, I mean, that album. There's songs that I think are more widely appreciated on 2014 Forest Hills, but if you're with him, especially in that age range, if you were outside, if you were there for that moment, kind of growing up and hearing that, there's something about how he captures the confusion of that kind of 2010s, 2014s era in that album, and kind of just, yeah, it's really, I would say Born Sinner is his best too.
Winston is incredible, and I think Cole is one of those artists that holds it within him to be able to create a masterpiece at every turn. I'm excited to see what the interlude sounds like, how it comes out as. I'm going to be waiting on it, not the interlude, the whole album. I'm for one is someone that this single does not deter anything about how I feel about that album or excitement for it or for Rashad either. Both artists that I enjoy absolutely immensely. Right now, I would have to say from a pop culture perspective, Baby is running it. But if I had to say who is potentially the next king of the type of hip hop that I appreciate, West Side Boogie is still my front runner.
Yeah, it's hard for me to fight you on that, bro. It's hard for me to fight you on that. I really do think uh New Beginnings by Reason is one of the most solid bodies of work, especially as a sophomore album. Um that exist among this new school of rappers. And I don't know, man, am I an old head to say that like the generation that we came up on came out swinging a little bit harder? There was a there was a there was a there was a Take Care, or there was a, you know what I mean, a Friday Night Lights, or there was a Section 80, or there was a,
Attention deficit.
I want to put you in there, Big Sean, but
Attention, nah, you gotta put Big Sean in there. Attention deficit, cushion orange juice, best day ever,
yeah.
Kanye
Not to
West.
mention,
Kanye
oh
West
yeah,
throughout
Yo,
that whole entire time,
yeah.
son. Pharrell,
Meek Mill's
Timbaland.
entire mixtape run with the Dream Chasers, DC2,
Mm-hmm.
DC4,
Mm-hmm.
Dreams and Nightmares. It seems like there were more classics created out of the initial efforts of the generation that was before this generation that seems to be taking over. But to your point, I think Boogie might be the front runner of those guys, with Reason as a close second, or Isaiah Rashad. But for TDE to have two of the folks in that conversation is an amazing accomplishment by a label, to be continued on whether they are or are not the new Death Row.
Yeah. With how that pretty much goes, B, is like um, the concept of classics. That just goes by. That's a generational thing, right? Because if you ask my cousin what are classics to them, he's gonna tell you Slime Language 2 is a classic to me. He's gonna tell you Triple Drown is a classic. He's gonna say Eternal Awaken or whatever by Uzi's a classic. You know what I'm saying? Those old Scorpion is a classic. Whatever. That's a generational thing. You know. And I think for our generation, all the ones that we named, definitely for the hip hop perspective, that is those are the classics, undoubtedly so.
Mm.
Undoubtedly
But,
so.
but that's really interesting, because I would say that actually the albums that you just named by Uzi, by Gunna, by Lil Baby are more comparable to, for our generation, the albums that really hit by the Tigers, the Migos,
Mm,
the you know what I'm talking about?
mm,
There were people of our generation that had slaps that weren't necessarily on the lyrical side, that had really dope bodies of work. You know what I mean? The
mm.
Little Waynes, right?
Ooh, that's the one. That's the
But
one.
then but then when you look at, so yeah, I would say that on the upcoming generation, the lighter, popular, poppier side definitely has albums that I think that they would point to. But when you look at the lyrical side, great artists, amazing efforts, but I don't know. But then you have a whole different conversation about, what they think of the Polo G's, the Little Dirks,
There
because
you
those
go.
albums I think are also considered classics in their own right, in a different lyrical content way. But man, this show, come on, man. Come on, bro. We could do this hip hop shit, this live shit for days and weeks and hours.
Indeed. And I think we gave people a full dosage of a show, man. Again, can't stress enough how good it feels to be back, how important this space is for all of us. And that for anybody that's going through anything that is deep, that's dark, that's eating you inside, man. We hope that this can be a space that you can be able to pull positivity from. And if you're ever feeling like you're gonna be able, like you're gonna harm yourself, if you feel like you're having those thoughts, reach out to somebody that cares. Try to reach out to us in some way, shape, or form, my man. I don't, like I said, my man, but like anybody. This the whole point is to be able to create a space that is a pool of positivity to pull from, because we pull from that. We pull from y'all, like, comment, subscribe, etc., 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 because we know. We know.
Yeah, we're aware, bro. It's like it's undeniable that y'all have way entirely too many choices when it comes to picking a podcast. So if you're listening to this, if you are hearing the hazelnut tones of my voice, right, accompanied by my brother chestnut tones right now, if you have rocked with us to the end of this show, then that is something that means so much to us. So we appreciate you, bro. This is All the Way Live. As we said in the beginning of this show, there is strength and vulnerability. The most gangster thing that you can do is serve. So what we doing is bringing you that. We are celebrating life. We are celebrating how good it feels to be black. Don't it feel good, Zway?
My absolute favorite thing in the world, son.
Man, we're celebrating y'all. We're celebrating the fact that, you know, we have a community of people that want to listen to this, that take positivity from this and give it to the show, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Recommend stuff that we should watch, a review for y'all, like, comment, subscribe, like my brother said. We glad to be back. Like that. Peace, love, water. We gone, man.